My name is Ethan, 32 years old, originally from a small town in Ohio, but I've been living in Chicago for about 7 years now. I work in marketing, a job that's as predictable as the seasons, yet somehow I find comfort in its routine. I'm not the kind of guy who shares his feelings easily, but this is the story I've never told anyone. Call it. I was mowing her lawn when she said, "Careful, I get attached easily to hard workers." It started on a late summer afternoon, the kind of day where the heat lingers just enough to remind you that summer isn't quite ready to leave. I was helping out a neighbor, an elderly lady who couldn't keep up with her yard work anymore, when I noticed a new house across the street. The lawn was wild, overgrown, the kind of mess that catches your eye in a neighborhood where everyone keeps their grass trimmed to perfection. That's when I saw her, standing on the porch, wiping her hands on her faded denim shorts, her chestnut hair catching the sunlight like it had been dipped in gold. She was watching me with an amused smile, her eyes sharp but kind. "Hey," she called out. "You're doing a great job. Careful though, I get attached easily to hard workers." I laughed, brushing the sweat off my forehead. "That's a dangerous warning." She stepped down the porch steps, and the air shifted. Suddenly, the quiet street felt charged, like the moment before a storm breaks. "I'm Claire," she said, holding out a hand. "Ethan." I shook it, feeling a spark I didn't expect. What followed over the next few weeks was something I hadn't planned on. Late evening talks over iced tea on her porch, stolen glances across the yard as I mowed her lawn, and the way she talked about her past like it was a book she wasn't quite ready to finish. She had a smile that could light up the darkest of days, but in her eyes, I saw shadows. Claire was complicated. She worked in the same office building where I spent my days, though in a different department. Our paths crossed during a company picnic, a coincidence I would later realize was anything but. There was an undercurrent of tension in the office. Whispers, sideways glances, unspoken things between her and one of our senior managers, Tom. Tom was the kind of guy who smiled too much and said too little. I noticed how Claire's posture stiffened whenever he was around, how her usual warmth turned cold and clipped. One afternoon, I caught her alone in the break room, staring out the window like she was trying to escape something far beyond the glass. "You okay?" I asked, moving closer. She hesitated, then shook her head. "It's complicated." That word hung between us, heavy with unsaid truths. I wanted to ask more, to pull her out of that darkness, but I knew better than to push. Instead, I offered her a simple smile and said, "You're not alone." She looked at me then, really looked, and for a moment I saw the real Claire, vulnerable, scared, and desperate for someone to trust. Days turned into weeks and our connection deepened, but so did the complications. One evening, as I was finishing up mowing her lawn, she came out holding 2 glasses of lemonade. "Here," she said, handing me one. "I made this from scratch. Careful, I get attached easily to hard workers." Her words felt like a secret invitation. We sat on her porch swing, the fading light painting the sky in soft hues of pink and orange. She told me about her family, a strained relationship with her father who never approved of her choices, a sister who had disappeared years ago without a trace, and the weight of expectations she carried like armor. Then, without warning, her eyes filled with tears. "I'm scared, Ethan," she whispered. "Scared that if I let someone in, I'll lose myself all over again." I reached out, brushing a tear from her cheek. "Maybe you don't have to lose yourself. Maybe you can find someone who helps you grow." She smiled, fragile but hopeful. But life has a way of twisting even the best intentions. One day, I found out that Tom had been spreading rumors about Claire. Things about her work, her character, even her past. It was like watching someone try to rewrite her story, painting her as the villain. The office turned cold, and Claire withdrew. She stopped coming to the office socials, stopped answering my messages. I was caught between wanting to protect her and feeling powerless. Then came the night that changed everything. Claire called me, voice trembling. "I need you," she said. "Please come over." I drove across town, heart pounding, unsure what I'd find. When I got to her place, The door was slightly open. Inside, the room was dark except for the glow of a single lamp. She was there, sitting on the floor, clutching a letter. "They're trying to ruin me," she said. "Tom. He's more dangerous than I thought." Her fear was real, palpable. I stayed with her that night, holding her while she cried, promising that I wouldn't let her face it alone. But the next morning, she was gone. No note, no message, just the echo of her scent lingering in the empty room. I spent days searching, calling everyone she knew. Her sister, her old friends, even her father. No one had seen or heard from her. Felt like she'd vanished into thin air. The police were no help. They said she was an adult, free to come and go as she pleased. But my gut told me otherwise. I knew Claire wasn't just running away. Something darker was at play. I kept going back to that day on her porch, to the moment she warned me about getting attached. I never imagined how true those words would become. I didn't sleep much those nights after Claire disappeared. My mind kept replaying every moment, every word, like I was searching for a clue hidden in the echoes. The police dragged their feet. The office whispered behind closed doors, and Tom's cold smile haunted my thoughts. I couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible was being covered up, and worse, that Claire might be in danger. Then, out of nowhere, I received a message on my phone. No caller ID, no name, just a text. "Meet me at the old park at midnight. Come alone." My heart hammered. Was it Claire? Was it Tom? Or someone else? Against every warning, I went. The park was deserted, shadows swallowing the swings and empty benches. A chill ran down my spine, but I kept walking toward the place where the message said to meet. A figure stepped out from behind a tree. It was Claire, pale, exhausted, but alive. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I didn't want to drag you into this, but I need you now." She told me everything, the harassment, the manipulation, the threats. Tom wasn't just a toxic manager, he was dangerous. He'd been blackmailing her, trying to control her career and her life. When she resisted, he used his power to isolate her, to destroy her reputation. I thought disappearing was the only way to protect myself. "And you," she said. "But I can't run anymore. I need to fight." We spent hours talking under the cold stars. I promised I'd stand by her no matter what. Over the next few weeks, we planned carefully. I collected evidence, talked to colleagues who had been scared to speak up. Slowly, the truth started to unravel. Claire wasn't alone anymore. At work, the atmosphere shifted. Tom's smile vanished. The rumors stopped. Claire grew stronger, more determined. And I saw the real woman beneath the scars, a woman who could love fiercely and fight fearlessly. One evening, after a long day, Claire and I sat on her porch again. The air was cooler now, the promise of fall in it. She looked at me with those same golden eyes and said, "You know, I was right about getting attached to hard workers." I laughed, shaking my head. "Yeah? Dangerous territory. Huh?" She smiled softly. "Maybe, but sometimes it's worth the risk." I took her hand, feeling the warmth and the promise of something new. I've never been one for grand declarations or fairy tales. Life, I've learned, is messy, unpredictable, and sometimes cruel. But in the midst of chaos, there are moments of pure, unguarded truth. When you find someone who sees you, who fights for you, who holds your broken pieces gently. This story, the one I never told anyone until now, isn't just about love or loss. It's about courage. The courage to trust when the world tries to teach you fear. The courage to stand up when silence seems safer. And the courage to believe that even in the darkest moments, connection can be a lifeline. Claire taught me that love isn't always easy, but it's real when it's fierce. And sometimes the hardest workers, those who mow the lawns and keep the world turning, are the ones who need love the most. So if there's one thing I want you to remember, it's this: be careful who you get attached to. Because when love finds you in the unlikeliest places, it can change everything.